Hey everyone, I just want to tell you about something really cool that happened recently. For 3 days in a row, we had a great speaker at our church, very detailed, context oriented Bible teacher who is hilariously funny, but also reveals deep, deep truths about God. And he's fantastic. His name is Shane Willard, and I highly recommend looking him up and absorbing his teachings because he will show you things about God that you never knew, and that will draw you closer. He's amazing. I'm telling you that part to tell you that that's the state I was in when this thing happened. I had 3 days of listening to this guy and feeling just revelation after revelation of God's goodness and how much he cares about us and all of that. And my friend Daniel sent me a text and said that he had stumbled upon a lot of free wood through Facebook Marketplace. And he said, I want some of it, but he said it's way more than I need. And I want to know if you want to get your truck and trailer and come pick me up and we'll go get the rest of it. And you can have, as much as you want. And I was like, free wood? Big fat yes. So I went and picked him up, and we were on the way there, and he was telling me, this guy was a woodworker and he passed away, and the family is dealing with, his shop and everything like that. And he said, the brother-in-law is who I'm talking to and who I'm dealing with mostly, but he said that, the wife is, of course, grieving, and she came out and looked over what I was taking, and was just kind of scoping out the situation and everything, and she even asked for a couple things back that I think were little wooden boxes that he had made or something like that, and she's like, I kind of like to keep that. And so he was just kind of gently warning me, that, hey, there's a grieving widow here, and we need to be respectful and of that, and just be aware. And I was like, yeah, okay, And they said he was, had been doing woodworking, but that he was a leather worker also, and he did a lot of really cool stuff out of leather. And my ear pricked up. I said, what? He's a leather worker also? Pause. Three or 4 days ago, I saw a post from an art gallery that I'm lucky enough to have some pieces in. And they announced that a guy named Joe, who I'd become friends with, and was a leather worker in their, he had leather things in their shop, one of which I had purchased. It's a nice little leather tray. They said he'd passed away. And when I saw the post, I immediately recalled the fact that I met him at a dinner for all of the artists in the gallery. And we immediately, connected, and we talked about music and woodworking and all the things and his leather work and all that kind of stuff. And he said, I've got a bunch of wood in my shop, and I'm just not doing woodworking anymore. I'm focusing on leather more than anything. And he said a lot of it's, barn wood, but it's good stuff. And he goes, I'd like to give it to you. And I was like, really? I mean, we've known each other for about 45 minutes. And he goes, yeah. But, he looked at, my stuff, and he goes, you do really cool work. And he goes, I don't need this wood anymore. And, this was in November of last year. He said the holidays are always busy and everything. He said, let's reconnect after New Year's, and you can come over and see my shop and everything. And then I'll give you this wood. And I was like, okay, that's great, man. Thank you, And we exchanged business cards and everything. And I kind of forgot about it right after New Year's, but somewhere end of January or beginning of February or something, I sent him a text and told him that, hey, I'm just following up. Do you want to get together sometime and all that kind of thing. And he said, I've been making a lot of stuff lately. I'm doing a craft fair at one of the local high schools. He said, if you're interested, why don't you come to the craft fair and we can, talk in person a little bit. And so my wife and I went, and we went to the craft fair thing. And this is actually where I bought this from his supply. And we talked, some more, and I met his wife. He met my wife and everything. And we, made plans that, we'll get together soon and I'll get you that wood. He said, been having, a little bit of health problems, but we'll get that figured out and we'll get together. I said, cool. And that was the last time I talked to him until I saw this post a few days ago that he had passed away. And I told my wife, I said, hey, remember that guy? And I said, the Copper Fox just posted and said that he had passed away. And she's like, oh man, that's really sad, and everything. And I was like, wow, that's just a bummer, I just, had chemistry with the guy. He was so cool. Unpause. So Daniel tells me he's a leather worker. And I said, is his name Joe? And he goes, I don't know. He said, they didn't tell me his name. He said, let me message the brother-in-law real quick. And he sent him a message, but we were only 10 minutes away and he didn't reply. So when we got there, he introduced me to the brother-in-law. And I told him the story, and I asked him, is his name Joe? And he said, yeah. And I told him the story and everything, and he goes, oh my gosh. And I said, I really feel like this is a God moment. And he said, yeah, it definitely is. He said his wife, left to run an errand or whatever, but they'll be back soon. And so we started loading up the wood on my trailer, and his wife came home, and Daniel, took me over there and introduced me to her and said, Jamie knew your husband. And she said, oh, really? And I told her the whole story and everything. And we were both getting pretty choked up. And she said, yeah, I think this is a God thing for sure. And she told me about his health and how it had declined and everything. And it was really sad. And but she said, sounds like God found a way to get this wood to you anyway. And I was like, yeah, it really was a moment, My friend Daniel, doesn't have anything to do with the art gallery. He didn't know these people. It was a Facebook Marketplace ad. All he did was make a call and say, hey, these people are giving away this wood, basically, and there's more than I can use. So do you want some? And through his generosity, it was revealed to me that God was the one being very generous and making sure that I got this thing that was promised to me. And more importantly, because it's not about the pile of lumber. I've got a nice pile of lumber out of the deal, but it's not about that. It was God saying, hey, I'm here. Here I am. And I see you, and I know the details of your life, and you're my child, and I'm going to bless you. I got a friend who calls that a God wink. Hey. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. It was such a cool thing, and just one more time that God has revealed his goodness to me, and I just thought maybe you'd like to hear it. Hope you're having a great day. God bless you.